All right, welcome back. So now we're going to, kind of do some review things, to be honest. To be honest, this lecture will get easier than the last one because there's less new stuff getting fired at you. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of start making the UI for this, right? So the first thing you see here is that it's a recycler view. And each of these has an item view with some text for the quote and then some text for the movie. And then also, we're going to have to do a dialogue eventually, but let's do the recycler view stuff. And there's a floating action button with a little plus icon on it. And right now, none of those things are really done for us. Let me go see what we've got now, but it is not impressive. There you go. So it's just hello world with a mail icon. Let's go fix the icon first. That seems like an easy place to start. It's over in activity main. So activity main is kind of the higher level one, and then it includes content main. So we want activity main. And what we want to do in the floating action button is the two things we've done before. We want to set the tint color to be Android white. And then instead of dialogue, email, we want the input add. So with just those two changes, it'll fix our floating action button. If you want to get some proof of that, you can run it and it'll pop up and you'll watch it change. There mine goes, and you can see it's a plus button. Great. Next thing I want to do is I don't really need it to say hello world to me anymore, so I'm going to open up content main, close everybody else. And right now it's got a text view which says hello world, not useful for me. We want to make a recycler view, so I'm going to say recycler view. And this recycler view is going to match parent, match parent. By default, the recycler view has an option to put things inside of it. I don't really need that, so I'm going to add a self-closing tag there, which means that I can delete the other closing tag. And this is going to need an ID on it. I'm going to give it the very unimaginative name of recycler view. Very simpler. Add an R there, recycler view. And that is exactly like what we've done in previous episodes where we've made recycler views. Let's do some more stuff. Let's go ahead and make an item view. So this item view, you can see it's in a card. I like cards. So we're going to have to add the card view to our Gradle file. We can do that first. So go to the Gradle file that's for the app module. Find the app compat line and copy it because it's very similar. The only thing that needs to change is from the word app compat to the word card view. And by the way, mine does have a warning right now, which is if I was making a production app, I would worry about, but it says that I'm mixing my version. So it says 8.0.0, but it really should be using 8 or 25.2.0. I'm just not worried about that. If there's really a problem, it'll crash, and until it crashes, I just don't care because I'm just trying to learn about something different, and I don't want to get bogged down in that. All right, so I added a card view. Make sure you click Sync Now if it asks you to sync now. And now I'm ready to go make that layout. So I'm going to go into my layouts here, and I'm going to say New Layout Resource File. And this is my MovieQuotes item view .xml. I could have said fewer words here because there's only going to be one of them, but MovieQuote item view, sure, why not? I'll say OK to this. It defaulted to a constraint layout. I never really like constraint layouts. I'll just use a linear layout. I think that that'll make my life easier. And if you think about what this thing is, oh, actually, I don't want to use a linear layout. I want to use a card view, of course. I don't want a linear layout, I want a card view. And I want corner radiuses and things like that. So I'm going to start typing the word corner, and it's going to autocomplete for corner radius. And I want a little margin around it. We'll just use 4dp for both of those. And then its width is match parent, that's good. Its height, though, we actually want it to wrap the content there, so that's a little change that we did need to make on that one. Now I can have my linear layout. The width will match parent, so go full width, and the height is going to wrap content. The first thing you have to put on linear layout is the orientation. Is it vertical or horizontal? This one's vertical. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that Android Studio doesn't stub that in, because you always need the orientation, right? Like, which way is this thing going? And then I've got two text views in here. They're going to be width of match parent, a height of wrap content. This top one is going to be my item view quote. And I'll add some more features to him. One thing I want to do is I want this to kind of be a preview, and then I want the other one to show the whole thing. So you can see I want to limit it to only one line, so you don't have to show me, if the monster's quote, don't show me the whole thing, just show me one line. You'll also notice that it's dark black, whereas this is kind of a lighter gray. So I'm going to say text color, I'll go with Android color black. Its font size is just a little bit bigger. I'm going to start typing the word size. I think I used 20 SP on this one. I think it looks about like that, or hopefully will. My next one is also a text view. Its width is match parent. Its height is wrap content. This next one is going to be my movie, so I'm going to add an ID for it. I'm going to call it item view movie. And he's going to be with a gravity of right, so he's kind of like justified over here. And I'll just leave his default font and his default font color, because I think that those are both the defaults. Cool, looking pretty good. I might want some padding in my layout. Let's just go and put 6 dps on here. If you don't like it when you run it, then you can fix it, right? But the padding kind of like keeps the letters off the sides and off the tops and off the bottom a little bit. And by the way, you can try to use the preview to see what this thing looks like, but I haven't put any text in it yet. But if you wanted to put in some text, just to look at it, it'd be like quote goes here, and then the other one I'll just add a very beautiful movie goes here. And now if your preview is working, you can kind of get an idea of what this thing is going to look like, and I think it looks pretty good. But the preview can help you kind of do this whenever you're doing it on your own and not just doing what I tell you. Let's go ahead and check it in. So we've got the card view on the Gradle, we've got the plus button on the icon, we've got a recycler view in here, and then we've got our item view. So this is preparations for using a RecyclerView. Obviously I did that fast. It's because it's the third time we've done it, right? We also have to do some preparations in the code as well. So we've got some things to do in the code. We got a lot of comments in here, so our code is kind of ugly, but that's okay. By the way, the menu, if you just kind of glance at the menu, you notice we don't have a menu here, but if we go into the other activity, we will have a menu. So I'm just going to leave the menu for a while, but I know eventually I'll take it out of here and I'll move it somewhere else. But I'm just going to leave it here, that way I can copy the code later. What was I doing? I was preparing for recycler views. So things we've done previously is we've gone ahead and captured the recycler view, r.id.recyclerView. We've done some configuration on it, setting the layout manager, I believe, to a new linear layout manager. We've also done things like said has fixed size true. Oops, I must say set has fixed size true. And then other things we want to do is we want to connect it to our adapter, which we have not made yet, but we know it's going to be called the MovieQuote adapter. And so that's what it's going to be called. We probably ought to make one of these things. So it's going to be a MovieQuote adapter called MovieQuote adapter. It's going to be a new MovieQuote adapter. Sometimes it's easier to make the actual class first because obviously this just yells at me to no end about these things. But we know that that's what we're going to do because we've used adapters in the past. Let's go ahead and make this adapter. So I'm going to right click on my package and say new Java class. Sorry, it's off the screen there. This is going to be our MovieQuote adapter. And what this guy is going to do is he's going to have inside of him another class called a MovieQuote view holder, which is going to extend a RecyclerView view holder. It's going to be mad at you because there's no default constructor. I'm going to choose to hit Alt-Enter to make the default constructor, which is fine. This view holder, which is on the inside, is going to be like a little miniature activity for one of these views. So it's got a text view for the quote and a text view for the name. So I'm just going to knock those out. So I'm going to have a text view for the quote text view. And then I'm going to have another text view for the movie text view. Again, pause it or whatever you need if you need more time on any of these. And I'm just going to connect by finding view by ID to the quote. Oops, forgot my semicolon there. And then I'm going to also connect to my movie. Note again that I'm saying item view dot find view by ID, so it's only looking inside the item view for it. So that's how I, with a little miniature activity, prepare my view holder. Let's go ahead and do some work on the outer class. So he is a RecyclerView adapter for MovieQuotes view holders. Sorry, that's such a mouthful to put in here, but we say MovieQuote adapter extends RecyclerView.adapter, and it uses generics. It's specifically for a MovieQuote view holder. And you'll notice that that's an inner class, so it's got a dot for the outer class there. It's going to say that you've got a lot of unimplemented methods. You can use the light bulb and say implement methods, or if the light bulb doesn't pop up, you can always just hit Alt-Enter and you can say implement methods. And hopefully this rings some bells. So whenever you have a recycler view, your adapter has to have these three methods. You create a view. So if there's 13 on the screen total, you have to make 13. You have to bind to it, which even if you have 1,000,000 and you scroll, bind is like what puts in the right data. So it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody's done PHP, but it's like where you take the data and you put it into the view. So bind is let lose them together. And get item count just says how many there are. So we kind of stubbed those three things in there. On create view holder is always pretty boilerplate, so I guess that we could do that one really quick. If you have something you can copy from, I really don't mind if you do that at all, just because it really is the exact same. It's layout inflator dot from parent dot inflate, I believe. Oh, that's weird. It didn't call it parent this time. Get a little more real estate. Called it view group. I usually like for it to be called parent. And then for that one's usually called like view type or something like that. Huh, I wonder why mine was different that time. All right, and so we want to inflate r.layout dot movie quote item, I believe is the thing. And then it has these two other questions, which I don't quite remember what they are. It's like, who are you in, which is just parent. And then attached to root, I'm just going to say false. Cool, so that is a boilerplate line. It's just a very long line, and you can probably copy it from somewhere else, which is, to be honest, what I recommend. I just decided to write it there just to remind myself what was going on. Oh, and it looks like I needed the refresher because the thing you return is not an item view. You return a new MovieQuote view holder, which you pass the item view to. It definitely needed the refresher. So you actually create one of these things, you just pass in that item view to it, and then whenever a view needs to be created, this is how you make it. For bind view holder, we're going to need some data first, and for get item count, we're going to need some data first. Just because that is going to actually use Firebase and be new, I think I'm going to actually have like a divide in the videos here. So this is just a review of recycler views, review recycler views, and then when it comes to actually the data, it's going to be new. So I'm just going to make that a different video because we're going to actually get data from Firebase, which would be kind of fun. All right, and we'll start that up next time. See you then.